to This Is Why Musicians Need Therapy, the podcast where musicians talk about the mental stuff that everyone deals with, usually while pretending they're fine on stage. Full disclosure, they're not therapists, just musicians who've definitely needed one. So settle in, laugh with us, learn with us, and if you're trying to figure out this whole being a musician with feelings thing, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of This Is Why Musicians Need Therapy. My name is Rich Davidson, and I'm joined, as always, by Eric Forbes and Craig Henry. Now, this podcast is where we try to talk about it all. The exhilaration of a great show, the stinging disappointment of a bad one, the creative highs, the why am I like this lows, as well as the weird, hilarious, and slightly unhinged moments we've experienced throughout the years. But before we start unpacking all that emotional baggage, and trust me, there's a lot, and since we're not exactly household names, well, not yet anyway, we figured it might be a good idea to take some time and introduce ourselves. So in this first episode, we're going to do just that. We'll let you know who we are, how we got here, and exactly what series of poor life choices led us to believe that starting a podcast was a good idea. So, without any further ado, let's get the show on the road. All right, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Rich Davidson, and over there is Eric Forbes. Say hello, Eric.
Hello.
And also we got Craig Henry.
Howdy, y'all.
It's very, very convincing.
Are you a native from North Carolina?
Mm-hmm. Can't you tell?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, I tell you what, Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you, but I don't think Craig does, because I don't even think he speaks our language, actually.
Yeah, I was actually really hoping Craig would go first, if I'm being honest.
Okay, fine. I mean, we don't have a hierarchy here. So, Craig, how about you?
I want to see what he does, what he goes into.
So, all right, Craig.
I can go first. I'm happy to go first. What would you like to know? I guess, well, you can tell by the accent, I'm not from around these parts. I was born and raised in Australia. That's a silly bit. I was born and raised in Australia. I've lived in the States for about, I used to say 15 years, but now I believe it's 17, I think, because that's how numbers work. I've done been in music really most of my adult life. I was really fortunate. At the age of 20, I was studying music technology at the Queensland Conservatorium of Music in Queensland, Australia, in Brisbane, and I was asked to join a touring group that was looking for a keyboard player, and I was in sort of two minds about it, but I ended up taking the gig. And we started touring around Australia, and I thought, I'll give it a year. I'll go back to college when I took a year of absence, I think it was. And within that year, we got really successful and started touring internationally, and never really had a good reason to go back to studying that degree. So that took me all around the world. Eventually, I ended up shifting from the keyboard player to one of the singers. The group was called the 10 Tenors, so it was 10 voices. And in fact, they're still around today. In fact, they, right this very moment, are on tour in the States. So I joined the front kind of lineup as one of the vocalists, and just, it was awesome experience. Got to work with some great producers, great orchestras. We recorded, at one point we had a deal with Warner Brothers, or I guess it's just Warner Music. And they threw a bunch of money behind one of our albums. We got to go record at Abbey Road. We filmed it's on YouTube. You can look it up. We filmed a actual music video, like a super like really nice quality music video, and That really helped with our touring. We toured, I think, to about 25 different countries around the world. So I did that for about 9 years, and then met my now wife on tour with that group in Texas, and fell in love. We got to hang out for quite a while, and she came on tour for a little bit. She was our merch girl for a while.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
And after about she got to come on tour for a little bit.
Sweet.
After about 9 years, I was living out of a suitcase for better part of a decade. Was starting to wear a little thin. So I quit touring, moved to Texas. We got married, and in Texas, one fine afternoon, I responded to a Craigslist ad that said it was looking for singers and pianists.
How ironic.
And I was like,
Craigslist.
I'm at least one of those things. So that was for a Dueling Pianos bar that had just opened in Lubbock, Texas, and they were looking for trainees. I was looking for a job. It was a match made in heaven. So I did that for a little bit. They trained me, met some awesome people. That club did really well. They opened a second club in Dallas. I went and moved there and opened that club. Did that for a few years. This is just tell me to be quiet. This is too long.
Be quiet, Craig. Be quiet. It's too long.
I've had an illustrious career. What can I say? It's just been,
It's the Craig Henry Show, everybody.
Yeah, that's, and then we're out of time.
You got this. I'm going to bed. I got to get up early, so yeah.
Moved to LA, kept doing freelance Dueling Pianos, bunch of different corporate stuff, lots of different things. Kept arranging for the 10 tenors. In fact, I still am today, which is really cool. And then in 2020, my daughter was born in 2017, which was amazing. And then in 2020, right as COVID was hitting, we moved to North Carolina. My wife took a job here in the Raleigh area. And shortly after that, as COVID was sort of, I'm just trying to think when I met you guys, it would have been, because I remember, it would have been
about 2021.
I know Tony was trying to open 2021 or
no, it was 2021 because that's when I started doing video full time. And I remember, I think the very first video I ever did, you were in it.
No way.
I actually posted that not too long ago, and I'm like, yeah, Craig. So you've been around for a while here.
Gosh, 5 years. Yeah. So then, I was doing that on and off, right? Just filling in as needed. And then I was full time for the last 18 months there. And now we're on to a whole new world of possibilities.
On to new and bigger things, hopefully. Yeah. I didn't know. So your wife was schlepping T-shirts for the band, huh?
She was.
Wow.
She was. Yeah, she was on commission too. It was great. Great little
nice.
Nice.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah. See, I didn't know. I didn't know that's how you met. I mean, I knew you met that time ago, but I didn't know you guys. I mean, that's pretty cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Eric, are you ready, or should I go?
I'm happy to talk more if you need more time, Eric.
My journey isn't quite as cool. Yeah, I don't know. No, I've been in North Carolina my whole life. Born in Charlotte, went to school at the beach in Wilmington, and then for music. And then as I was graduating there, I went into a dueling piano bar, and that's how I first discovered that art form. And I got a job as a trainee at a club in Wilmington, and then moved from there to play at a club in Raleigh, and then that club closed and traveled for a bit, and then a new club opened in Raleigh, and that's what I've been doing for 13 years now in the stable and uplifting world of dueling pianos. So
So I'm guessing you're single and fancy free, right?
yeah. Three kids, wife. It's been filled with ups and downs, but I'd say overall more ups than downs. So, I always had music in my family. My dad was a high school choir director for my whole life, and that's kind of how that was my introduction to music through him, and he taught me a whole lot, and it's been a wild ride for a long time now. So,
Eric, what was your major at college? Did you major on piano or voice or tin whistle?
So I started it with voice, and I'd never done any classical singing or anything like that. And so, like, you know, I'd be hanging out with my friends in the apartment. You know, they'd all be done for the day, and you know, we'd all be taking bong rips or whatever. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. And you know, and then I'd be like, all right, well, I have to go sing an Italian art song now.
Oh, wow.
Go across
No
campus. And do that. Yeah. And so I did that for like half a semester. And I actually sang this, or maybe actually it was more like 2 years, way off. And then I, you know, went in for my voice lesson one day, and my voice teacher was like, you know, Eric, I just get the sense that you're not really in love with these Italian and Spanish and German songs that you've been doing.
Have you heard of Don't Stop Believin'?
That, like, you know. So she was like, you know, you obviously have a talent. I would always play, you know, piano in the piano halls and you know, jam with the jazz guys and stuff. But then I was in the voice program, and she was like, you know, I think you just need to switch to like general music, so you don't have to focus on doing something that you don't really enjoy. Which, looking back on it now, was probably a pretty big turning point that I didn't really realize how important it was at the time, you know. But yeah, so then I just switched from voice to just like general music. I think I did some conducting stuff as a concentration, maybe something like that. But because that's what my dad had always done. But yeah, so I just my degree, I think it just says Bachelor of Arts or whatever in music. So
it's funny because
Nice.
you mentioned that, like, when I was in high school, everybody had to go see the counselor. As every senior had to go see the counselor to talk to them about, you know, what their plans were in the future. And I just felt like my meeting with a counselor was shockingly short. I'm like, I really don't want to go to college. And they were like, yeah, we're good with that. Next. I mean, literally, they did not try to convince me to do anything other than what I planned to do, which was nothing. I always
maybe
wondered.
you would find greatness.
Yes.
You would find greatness in your own way.
Oh yeah. I don't think they thought that at all. Actually, I think they just wanted me to be done. Well, oh, well, that's interesting. So, what do you think would have happened if that person hadn't intervened? Would you've continued on with your degree as it was, or would you know?
I really don't know. And in the end, maybe it didn't make a ton of difference. I mean, the degree would have been the degree anyway in the end.
Yeah,
and then I ended up going back to get a teaching license. Like a year later, after living at home and working at Yogurt Mountain.
Ooh, good times.
Which was glorious. Yeah.
Did you say Yogurt Mountain?
What's that? Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
I generally don't know what you said.
Oh, Yogurt Mountain.
It's like half
Like
concessions, half theme park.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Froyo. It was attached to a Books A Million there in Concord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's what I worked for a bit, and then I was like, you know, let me go back and try and learn something else.
Hey, look, I don't have any room to talk because I've held down jobs as a pizza delivery guy, a car washer. So yeah, I got no. Yogurt Mountain sounds about right in my lane. Probably today I could probably work there. Maybe.
Eric, do you feel like your degree? Because I never got my degree, and I feel like there's been times where I don't know, looked at jobs or whatever, and must have a degree. Like, and I mean, they probably wouldn't even care what sort of degree it was. I lament that I never quite just got that piece of paper. Do you feel like it's helped you at all? Or there's been things that you've been able to go, yes, at least I have a degree, you know?
But professionally, like as far as a job, no, not a chance. Like
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
a degree, there's not a degree in, quickly learning one too many margaritas by Luke Bryan. And going
Well, there
to play,
should be though.
Like,
There should be. There really should be. I mean,
Not yet.
I would have been awesome at it. But I will say that through getting the degree, I learned a lot about music, which I use in my job. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yes and no. Maybe yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely learned a lot.
Yeah. It's hard with music, but yeah.
I learned a lot. It was, taught in a classical sense, which is not something I use a lot, but like, voicings and, learned a lot of theory and stuff in college, and I use that. So
Absolutely. Yeah. The knowledge itself. Yeah.
I think there's also that experience, and obviously I don't have that experience, but like my daughter, when she went to UNC, she had experiences that you're never going to have when you're not in college. Like just for one thing, she wanted to live on campus. Probably to get out of the house as well, but she wanted to live on campus. She'd obviously never done that before, and like I remember, gosh, I think they beat Duke. I think UNC beat Duke in basketball, and they rushed Franklin Street for no particular reason other than they just won. And it was kind of one of those things that if you're not a college student at UNC, you're not going to get a chance to do that. That's like there were just some experiences that you had in college that were, at least that's how she related it to me. There were experiences that she would never get anywhere else.
and that'll be a core memory. And she probably developed some relationships that she'll keep for the rest of her life. maybe, as well.
I know. She had some. She had some good friends from there, and they continue on today. So that's cool. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn. This is going to be very anticlimactic.
Yeah. Tell us about
yourself,
Rich.
Yes, I've had as Mike Myers said, I've had a large assortment of jobs that required hairnets and name tags. So, I think Craig should have finished this off because mine is going to be very disappointing. I might actually be able to get a GoFundMe page for my career endeavors after this, because I'm a drummer, which is actually code for two things: a pizza delivery guy, which I did, and bus driver, which I'm doing now. So there you have it. But no, I guess I'm the oldest of the bunch, really. I don't know, like 50, almost 56. Yeah. Been married for 33 years, have 4 kids and 2 grandkids. Too many of them are living at the house right now, but that is another show altogether. But yeah, I've been, good Lord, music has been kind of central to just about everything I did, even as a teenager, and partially because my brother and older sister, they both went to school for music education and became music teachers. Actually, my older sister is retiring from Palm Beach County school system. She's been, I think she's been doing it 20 or 30 years, I think. But she's been a music teacher all that time. My mom used to play piano and organ at church. My dad loved to sing, and it was just, it was that's what it was. And loved playing music, loved listening to music. Unfortunately, I did a lot in music. I knew a lot of people, but everything was at best semi-professional. Most of the time it was just local stuff. But I still enjoyed doing that. Played so many different styles and kicked around Florida for the most part. I was 9 when I moved to Florida after my dad retired from the Navy, and we bounced around a couple places in Florida: South Florida, West Coast of Florida, then Central Florida, and it was, I played with a lot of people in Central Florida. That was kind of a weird thing because there was, a lot of international music, a lot of Latin music, because there was just a huge. I mean, Florida, you think well, there's a lot of Cubans now. South Florida there was, but in Central Florida there were like a lot of Puerto Ricans, and that influenced a lot of the local music that you heard. So I actually got a chance to play some of that, and that was fun. I wasn't very good at it, but that's another story.
Is Miami considered South Florida or Central Florida?
No, Miami is South Florida. Yeah,
South Beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I lived there before it was cool, because the South Beach was kind of a dump. If you wanted to get robbed, maybe have your car stolen, South Beach was a good place to go when I lived there. Of course, I left and then it got cool. So I think that says something. Maybe.
One of my favorite things is listening to you and Gene talk about.
Oh gosh.
Memories of Florida.
Yeah, because
it sounds like a wild place to live.
It really was. I mean, because he was from Pompano Beach, which is like Broward County. We lived in Dade County, and we lived in Homestead, which is like on the southern tip of Dade County, like 20 miles away from there are the Keys, but it's technically considered South Miami. And when I was a kid, we had the Cuban refugee crisis. Also had it was the Carroll City and Overtown riots. Those were fun. Not really, but all that sort of stuff. And just that was like late 70s, early 80s, and it was just nuts. So yeah, Gene and I. For those of you who don't know Gene, most of you don't. Actually, none of you do. But somebody that we worked with, a fun character, to say the least. But yeah, he that whole South Florida area, even though Pompano Beach is a little north of Miami. Actually, it's closer to Fort Lauderdale. But yeah, it's still kind of the same stuff. I mean, you go from like Palm Beach County down to Dade County, it's all just one massive toilet now, but it was still that. It was that then too, but yeah, it was that was kind of fun. And then I moved up here. Gosh, we moved up here in 2007. I was a freelance writer for a little while, and that sounds a lot more glamorous than what it was, because I was just writing mind-numbing articles about whatever. And so I did that for a while, and let's see, I was driving a school bus when I started working at the piano bar, and that was
I remember that.
Yeah, I did that for a little bit, and then I came on full time, and much to the chagrin of my wife. I mean, she liked that I loved my job. It was the first time I loved my job for 34 years. I never had a job that I loved. I had a few that I tolerated, but I never really had anything that I actually liked to do. And so this was kind of a unique situation for me. And of course now that train is pulled into the station, and so now it's time to do something else.
I will say, I'm not sure I've met anyone with a broader general knowledge of music and bands and rock history than you, Rich.
Well,
it's hard to find a song in a group that you don't know a good bit about.
Oh no, there's some you're like, hey, have you heard of this song? I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm not saying that for effect.
Rich, I played with a drummer in Los Angeles who he plays at a dueling pianos club in Claremont in the LA kind of area, and he won, I don't know what it was called. It was a form of like a sub thing of Jeopardy, like Music Jeopardy or something. And I think he was the champ of Jeopardy. He's a drummer. He's a punk rock drummer.
Oh, really? That's cool.
And tours and stuff today. But his day job is playing at a dueling piano bar there. But encyclopedic knowledge of music. But I think you would give him a run for his money.
Well, that's very, very nice of you to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird because it's just kind of something that like I love listening to music. I will say that today I'm probably not 100% music. Like we've talked about this before. I don't actually think I've listened to any music this week since Saturday, but I'll get around to it, and I'm the sucker for new music, especially like indie. I think we've talked about that before as well. I love indie music, and I don't know why, because
the ones you sent me to learn, I love those.
Yeah, and I mean, I typically when I'm not going to be doing them anymore, but typically when I would do the picture post, I just put on Spotify, put on like front page indie or new indie music and just let it run. And some of it's crap, but some of it's actually pretty good. And I think some of it reminds me of the music that I listened to when I was a kid, and some of it reminds me of the music that my older siblings listened to, because they were the ones listening to like Billy Joel, and my brother loved Barry Manilow. I heard a ton of Barry Manilow and Beach Boys and stuff like that. I mean, that kind of music was they were the ones that took me to see that godforsaken Bee Gees, Peter Frampton, Sgt. Pepper's movie. I mean, wow, that was, I don't know if they liked it or they thought, I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
My brother actually had the double album with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton, and who was on it? Billy Preston, Aerosmith. Steve Martin did a song, Maxwell Silverhammer. Steve Martin did that one. I'm trying to think who else.
They were all doing a song from that Beatles album?
Yeah. It was like a double album, and it came along with a movie, which actually was really awful. And I mean, I never looked at the record the same, because I thought the record was kind of cool. It was kind of eclectic, I remember Aerosmith played "Come Together."
I can hear that.
Like I said, Steve Martin did Maxwell Silverhammer. Peter Frampton did a couple of tunes. The Bee Gees did, and it actually wasn't bad. It was, like I said, it was very eclectic. But boy, that movie, whew, God, that was terrible. And I was like 6, and I knew it was bad,
Rich, what was the most time you went between playing drums, not necessarily professionally, but more than just, in your bedroom?
I would say probably,
Rich, for the listener, he's quite the drummer.
Well,
he is quite a good drummer.
Thank you.
I
would say probably about maybe 2 years, because it was actually during the time that I started working at the Dueling Piano Bar. I was actually playing drums at a church I was going to, and surprisingly, I got tired of people not rehearsing, so I yelled at them enough that they didn't want me to play anymore. I probably wouldn't have either. I know, that's so surprising. Why?
Not very religious of you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just envisioned Pete Rivera in everybody's. So I just yelled at him, but that's another story. But yeah, I did. So they didn't really ask me to leave. I just kind of stepped away because I was not having a good time. So that was about a year. And then I came to work at the club, and I didn't actually play, and Eric probably remember this. I didn't play for almost a year. And it was, gosh, I want to say that it was one of those nights that we had come back after, COVID. Or maybe it was during COVID. We weren't quite open till 2. I don't remember. But Nikki had got off the drums, and Tony was playing Tennessee Whiskey. And I said,
in 4.
Yeah, of course. In 4.
Right?
Yeah, why not? It sounds so good that way. Isn't that how it was written? But I just I kind of motioned, and Tony's like, yes. And so I played it, and then the next weekend, he did the bit where he's like, oh, this guy's only been playing for 3 weeks. We're going to give him a shot, which was funny and insulting at the same time. And then I played there, and then Nikki just started calling me up. And this was...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because at that time we were kind of on a skeleton crew, and often call up Jay, but Jay was working security, but he wasn't working then. We only had a minimal amount of employees working at that time because we were only doing like 30% occupancy, and we could only be open till 7:30 at night, and then we all had to go home. Last call was at 6.
Dude, that was a wild time. We closed at like 7 or something.
Oh, it was so stupid. I think we closed at 9. So last call, because we had to be off the street by 10. Otherwise, we'd be sharing a cell with Nelson Mandela or something. I don't know. It was so stupid. And so we were closed. Last call was 8:30. We were closing at 9.
Yeah.
So then when we came back to full-time hours, Nikki would let Jay play, but she'd always call me up like at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I just finish out the show, and that's just how that began. But yeah, to go back to your question, it was about 2 years. It was the longest that I've. And in those 2 years, I didn't even have a drum set at home, so I didn't play anything. I was just.
Oh, okay, but so I didn't realize. Yeah, you've still.
Yeah, I was still mixed.
You've kept it up.
I was still like that church I was talking about. I did their mixing for a while. Their live mixing, and then of course coming to Plus, and that's actually when I got into mixing more studio recordings as well. I was actually recording their live performances and then mixing it. So it was a little different than studio stuff, but it was still in the same vein. So yeah,
I haven't thought about in a while how big of a deal that was. And Craig, you're a full-time performer. Like that was, I believe, 11 months, almost a year of no work.
Yeah,
it was. Well, what?
Yeah, I think I went 13 months without doing any show at all.
13 months? Really? That long?
Yeah.
God, because they closed. Yeah. They closed us up on St. Patrick's Day of 2020, and then we didn't open up until It's funny. We opened up at limited capacity the weekend of Thanksgiving of that year. So we were closed for what? That would be, almost 8 months.
Yep.
7 or 8 months. And then we weren't back fully until well into the next year.
Yeah, I didn't. Tony had asked me to come in to play, and I said, I'm going to wait till I get the jab. So that was, I took a little bit of extra time, but yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Crazy times.
Yeah, crazy times for everybody. I remember that's when I was driving the school bus and they were like, "Hey, you can work from home." I'm like, "How the hell can a bus driver work from home?" What?
How does a bus driver work from home? What do they want you to do? They
do not. They don't work from home. They stay at home and they don't do anything. It was a weird time. It was a weird time. Look, kudos to them for trying to give us something to do, and we actually kept getting paid. But boy, that was I don't know whose idea that was, but it was not a good one.
You just practice like turning around in your chair and just randomly yelling.
Yeah. But you sit down. Yeah, you have to make the sounds too. You have to make the noises of the bus. So yeah.
You got to do it.
Trying to get it started in the morning. You had to do that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the air brakes, you had to make that noise. So that was important. Well, all right. That's who we are, everybody. An eclectic group. Well, there you have it. Episode 1 of This Is Why Musicians Need Therapy is officially in the books. We had an absolute blast making this, and we hope you had as much fun listening. If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. That'll help us out tremendously. And if you're feeling generous, drop us a comment. We love hearing from you, unless you're critiquing our life choices, in which case, just be gentle. So for myself, Craig Henry, and Eric Forbes, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next time. This Is Why Musicians Need Therapy is executive produced by Eric Forbes, Craig Henry, and Rich Davidson for Ascension Entertainment.